For genocidal dictator Adolf Hitler, the spoils of war included as much of the world's great art as he could steal, and he did it all to the rousing, relentless choruses of his favorite composer. One can't help but wonder what creates a psyche of someone as malicious and cruel as Adolf Hitler. The 20th century's most notorious dictator, Hitler imagined, ordered, and oversaw the ruthless and systematic genocide of around 11 million people. Had the world at large not gone to war to stop him, there's no telling how far the power of his diabolical regime would have reached. The details of Hitler's personal life were at times indicative of a relatively composed, agreeable individual. However, at other times, his true nature reflected something deeply disturbing and unsettling. Hitler harbored certain predilections that would, at the very least, perplex, if not alarm, those who knew about them. The contradictions in his character are profound. For example, the German leader had a genuine love and appreciation for Disney films, and there was something else he enjoyed doing that, by his own admission, bordered on addiction, and it is far from anything you'd expect. As a boy, Hitler would often play hooky from school to sneak off to the local theater to catch an opera matinee. The young man who would one day become Germany's most merciless leader was 12 years old when he discovered the operas of Richard Wagner. Hitler once declared that, "My youthful enthusiasm for Wagner, the Baroque master, knew no bounds." Wagner, a German composer, lived between 1813 and 1883. His music has been featured in countless plays and films. One of the most famous examples comes in Apocalypse Now, when a fleet of attack helicopters blasts Wagner's Flight of the Valkyries as they descend upon a Vietnamese village with a mission to destroy. The effect of Wagner's music upon the young Hitler was so profound that he developed a nearly insatiable urge to hear it as often as possible. But it wasn't just the music. While in exile in 1850, Wagner wrote Das Judentum in der Musik, or Jewry in Music, a treatise that claimed Jews were incapable of artistic creation and expression.
Richard Wagner was a raging anti-Semite. In certain circles in Germany, that was almost a matter of good manners.
Hitler hitched himself to Wagner's political beliefs and rode them to the heights of political power. Upon rising to prominence within the Nazi Party, Hitler would regularly host rallies, with Wagner reverberating over the crowd by a loudspeaker. Such boisterous and grandiose theatrics acted like a musical score to Hitler's extreme ideologies, whipping the nationalist spirit and warlike instincts of previously ordinary Germans to fever pitch, and keeping it there as they plunged themselves into battle. Thanks to Hitler, Wagner grew wildly popular amongst the modern German populace once again.
It was a German composer saying, "It's all right to be anti-Semitic."
Hitler's obsession with the opera and Wagner's music in particular endured throughout his lifetime. He wrote that, "Wagner's line of thought is intimately familiar to me. At every stage of my life, I come back to him." In fact, Hitler's ravenous obsession with Wagner was far too large to confine itself to a theater seat. At the age of 20, long before he dreamt of becoming leader of the Third Reich, Hitler wrote his own opera. That's right. In 1908, Hitler drafted the first and only known copy of Wieland der Schmied, or Wieland the Smith, an opera based off of one of Wagner's unfinished works. As to whether or not he had legitimate plans to develop his work into a legitimate stage production, history is unclear. However, the original manuscript is still regularly showcased in various exhibits and museums across the world. In early 2020, Young Hitler, The Formative Years of a Dictator, an exhibit in St. Pölten, Austria, displayed the documents as part of its in-depth look at Hitler's early years through a series of artifacts that once belonged to him.
Imagine if Adolf Hitler had pursued his passion for music or art. Would the world as we know it be any different?
It's common knowledge that as a young man, Hitler's love of painting prompted him to apply to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts 2 separate times, in 1907 and again in 1908. He failed the entrance exam both times. Wieland der Schmied was just one of several failed attempts to break into the realm of the fine arts that Adolf Hitler would make before his ambition shifted to those of a genocidal tyrant.